Welcome to Whippoorwill Holler. I'm Miss Lori and this is Mr. Brown. We live in the hills of Arkansas. We love the Lord. Keepers of the old way, but accept some of the new. We love to cook and we love to eat. We love to garden. It's in our blood. It's how we stay sustainable and fill our pantry. We do a lot of canning and preserving. We live a sustainable life. We love our family. We work hard. And every once in a while, we like to dance. So y'all join us. We're going to start out our day making my basic bread recipe. I need a loaf of bread and a couple hamburger buns for this week, and this is a really good one for two. This is out of my first cookbook. I no longer have my first cookbook on sale, but I am working on my second. I like to fluff up my flour with a spoon. I'm using bread flour this morning. You can use just regular all-purpose. I do like to fluff it up once it's been settled in the container. And I am using store-bought bread flour this morning. I've got one package of active, or you can use rapid rise yeast, and a half a cup of warm water with 1 teaspoon of sugar. And I already had it blooming, so it's ready, and I'm just poured it in my bowl. And now I'm just going to measure up 4 cups of unbleached bread flour. I do have fresh milled, but I'm going to be using some White Lily bread flour this morning. I like to do my flour this way to get a more accurate measurement by fluffing it and then just scooping it into my cup. I don't beat my cup and settle it in the cup. Or really the best way is to weigh it, and I do have a scale, but this morning I'm just going to kind of scoop it in my cup and then level it off. It is easy to make your own bread flour, and I'll have that recipe down in my description box. I do have a video with different flours to make homemade. I come across some White Lily flour. It's very odd that you find it in my neck of the woods, and I bought some. It's a really good flour. I really like White Lily flour. I'm going to put another tablespoon of sugar in here. Teaspoon. So altogether that's 2 teaspoons of sugar. I will have this recipe in the description box. And then I'm going to put a teaspoon of salt. And I think in my first cookbook, the recipe says 1 tablespoon of salt, and that is so wrong. It's 1 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to do this by hand because it's so easy to mix up. I don't want to get my big mixture out for just a loaf of bread. So I've got 1.5 cups, and I always use just warm water from the sink faucet. I like to use just a little bit of warm water instead of just straight cold water because our water is so cold out of the well. So we got 1 package of yeast, a half a cup of warm water, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 4 cups of unbleached all-purpose or bread flour, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1.5 cups of water. And we're just going to mix this up really well. And I'm going to make 1 loaf of bread and then 2 hamburger buns. Now this will be kind of a loose, shaggy dough, and that's what you want to start out with. I've got some flour on my board. Today's going to be a very busy day. I've got my most comfortable clothes on. I'm starting out with getting my bread ready so I can get it in the oven because I've got a lot to do today, y'all. Now we're going to knead this dough just a little bit. If I had it in my mixer, I'd probably knead it with my dough hook for about 6 minutes. But we're just going to do this by hand. I'm just going to gather it up a little bit. You want to make sure that you don't put too much flour because it will make your dough too dense. So we're just going to start kneading and stretching our dough. And I'll do this for about 6 minutes. You may have to put a little bit more flour on it because, like I said, it is a sticky dough, and that's what you want. This is good exercise for my hands and fingers too. So all I'm going to do is just kind of roll it up. And when you can push your finger down in it and it pops back, you know your dough's ready. That it's kneaded well and ready to go into the bowl. I'm going to get my bowl. You can use any bowl that you want. This is a enamel bowl that I've had for a long time. I'm going to get me just a little bit of olive oil and put it in my bowl. I use olive oil for most of everything. And I'm just going to put my dough in here, turn it over a few times, and then we're going to cover it and put it in a warm place for 1 hour, and I'm going to start getting busy. Now, I want to walk around the house for just a minute because I told y'all we done a few things to the kitchen a while back. And what it is if you can tell, we opened the kitchen up some. And when I say some, it's probably about 4 to 5 feet. If you see the stove, it's still in the same position. But what we done is we tore out an old countertop that had a cabinet under it. And it did hold some stuff, but it was more hindrance and took up a lot of room. So Mr. Brown took it out and rewired and ran my propane line so we could push the stove on back. This is, if y'all know my personality, I love prim and old world look. I love old wood. I love different textures and textiles. I love that I can come in and change my kitchen and my house if I'm just feeling it. Nothing's permanent. All my life, I've always walked to the beat of my own drum. I'm not a white kitchen cabinet purity person. I love color. I love textiles. I love wood. I love the old world look and colors on my cabinets. I have to have color in my kitchen. This right here come from Cotton and Crete. That is a company. And it's made out of old wood off an old ship or an old boat. No two tables are the same. And you can tell that it's the old wood. It's even got some steel plate still in it from where they had patched the boat. This is a very, very heavy table. But if for any reason that I wanted to take it out, it folds up. The legs fold up. But it's very sturdy, very heavy, and I love it. I love the look of it. If you're not into prim, old world look, you're not going to like it, but I absolutely love it. Now, my camera does not pick up the true color of my cabinets that I just repainted. This is a colonial brick red, but it looks brown on the camera, so it just doesn't know justice. But I love it. Now the gray over here on my cabinet is going to become, I'm not going to paint it the same color. It's going to be what they call a colonial Salem mustard color. And I'll show you that color in just a minute. I just haven't got it painted yet. But I do love my kitchen that we've opened it up. The floors, I've had some comments on. People want to tell me that my floor is dirty. I'm just going to tell you that it's not. We keep our floors clean. This is real pine wood from Crowley's Ridge in Arkansas. It's slow growth pine. We were blessed to be able to build our cabin and put it on the walls and our floors. And it was stained a little, and then it's got a sealer on it, and that's just the colors that pop out from the wood that I guess would make it look like I need to mop it. But believe me, my floors, they're not, you couldn't eat off my floors. We live in this house. This is the sitting room, and I wanted to show y'all something. The chair is pushed over a little bit because we've got a hot fire going in the wood stove. But usually it sits in the corner right there. But I want to show y'all something that I found at Lowe's the other day. Me and Danny was in Lowe's, and I love my cabinets and I love the stuff in them, but you can't really see in there. So I found these little lights. There were 6 in a package, and I love what it does for the cabinets. Now, of course, it gets different colors, but anyways, you can either just pop it on just like that, just push it, and it'll come on, but it also has a remote to it that you can turn it on with the remote. But I think it helps the inside of your cabinets that you've really displayed really pretty, and it just makes them pop. I think it looks really good. So this is what you would call the sitting room. And I'd love for my rooms to be comfortable and lived in. This is the other side of the wood cook stove. This is the corner. This is where we eat. I have an old ironing board set up here that's got a few decorations on it. But my old cabinet back here in the back that was just like my grandma's, I did paint it with the old world colonial Salem mustard color. But if you'll look at it, you can't tell that it's mustard color on my phone. It looks almost beigey green color, but so my phone just does not do it any justice either. It's a really pretty mustard color, and it all comes together. But I put the lights in here too, and I love it. I love the way it brightens it up in there and shows off some of my things that I find at flea markets and antique stores, and even gifts that were given to me. I love lamps, side lamps. I don't really care for overhead lighting. This lamp here, I bought a different kind of light bulb for it, and it's called an antique. I think it's a 60 watt, but it's a kind of a yellowy, antique color light. And you can tell the difference in the light colors. I think I like that better than I do the regular LED light bulbs, even the soft white. I put one of those lights up here in the mantle. It kind of shows off my photos that I change out through the year that I put up here. I guess I like it. It's okay. But this is the corner where we eat. This is what you call the dining room, I guess. The eating area. And I also have a lamp here. I'll turn that off. You can see the remote in my hand. I do like this little lamp here. I think it kind of shows off the mantle too. At night, it's really pretty. Here is an old antique school desk that I've got turned around, and you can see I've got the end of an old rake there that I'm fixing to put up on the wall and hang some of my old utensils on. I just ain't got it done yet. I'm going to hang it right above that window to hang all those utensils on. I found that antique school desk for $50 at a flea market. In our cabin, we have tall ceilings, and there's a skylight in the kitchen. That was put there in case we had to go off-grid, that we'd have light, some light, in the kitchen. But we do have 4 big beams that go across the top, and it's so I can hang baskets, and I hang my herbs and stuff to dry from there. So this is from the kitchen, and I mean, we built this cabin. The size is a 24 by 40. And there's barely any walls in it that really divide much. Just the bathroom and the bedrooms. I need to wash my linen tablecloth. I love linen tablecloths, but I tell you, when my kids were growing up, we never had any because I just had the old plastic $3 ones because, with having kids, they're going to spill and make a mess. But now that we're older and me and Mr. Brown don't make that big of a mess, I can have my linen tablecloths out now. This is a braided table runner. It's got some pretty colors in it, and I really love it. I think I ordered it from Amazon a long time ago, but it's really pretty. And you can even use this as a small rug in front of something in the kitchen or something. I'm not going to use it anymore on the table. I'm fixing to change out my tablecloth. It's dirty. I need to wash it. So I'm going to put, I dug out 2 different tablecloths that I'm going to see which one I want to use. Not sure which one yet. I took the leaf out of my table since the holidays are over. It's just me and Mr. Brown most days. And even when the kids and grandkids are here, we can still sit around and have plenty of room to eat. So taking that leaf out makes a little bit more room in here. And since there's, since the holidays from before Thanksgiving, I always put the leaf in here and leave it in until after Christmas. But I do like my little round table. I think it's quaint, and I think it looks good in this corner. This is a round, I think it's a 60-inch. It is a mustard color buffalo plaid. I'm not sure if I want to use that right now. I may keep it for more into spring. I like this one because it's still got the warmth of fall and winter in the colors. It's got a black background. It's got a little bit of a pretty blue. It's got some mustard colored lilies, and I think the other flowers are even like almost an orangey pink color, a salmon maybe color. So it's really pretty. I think this time of year, the darker colors do well because they're warm. They're a warm color, and I like warm colors during the winter. So I'll use this for just a little bit more before I get my spring colors out. I'm not going to put a whole lot of decoration on the table. From Thanksgiving to Christmas, I had so much out, and when I put it up, I thought, I just don't want all that stuff on my table right now. But I do always during the winter time. This right here is a homemade, this is an old flour sifter, and it's got a bird's nest with some little robin eggs in it. It's really cute. But I always like to keep my kerosene lantern on my table during the winter time. If for any reason that the electric goes out because of storms, ice storms, snow, or anything, I like for it to be accessible right here on the table. You can see that some of my seat pads are also a mustardy color. Seat pads, chair pads are very expensive anymore. This is a little container I found at a flea market. It's really cute. It's a little tiny crock for Mr. Brown's toothpicks. And I spotted something up here on top of my mantle that I think I'm going to put on the table because it looks like it might match that blue color in the tablecloth. And it's a little butter crock that was given to me by a subscriber. It's a pretty blue color. And I think it'll match the blue in this tablecloth. Yeah, it does. It looks really good. So I'm going to keep it just kind of simple right now. I probably won't decorate for Valentine's, but when Easter comes around, I do like to decorate my table for Easter because we do have Easter dinners and stuff like that. And I do it for the grandkids. I think the corner looks really inviting and cozy, and a place I'd want to sit down and eat. Well, it's time to wash the bed sheets and get them out on the line. So I'm also going to I'm going to fold this up first and put it back up. I'm going to go ahead and wash my bed sheets and my tablecloth together. I've still been using, before Christmas, a couple years ago, one of my subscriber friends made me 2 flannel Christmas pillowcases, and I use them. I use them in wintertime. This is a gray sheet. It's called a grounding sheet. If you don't know much about grounding sheets, please research it. I can tell you that I sleep better and I feel better at night. I've been using this grounding sheet for about 6 months now. I can tell a difference. I don't talk about it much. This is Lysol sanitizer, and I do use just a little bit in with my sheets and my towels and stuff. Instead of putting bleach in there, this is a Lysol sanitizer just to help maybe kill a few germs, and if we've been sick or something like that, I like to put a little bit in there. Use my homemade powdered laundry detergent. We're going to get these washed up and get them out on the line. It's really not a pretty day today, but they'll still dry. I am watching while I'm doing all my house stuff, gardening, cottage garden. This, I want to show y'all, there's no fire in here today. It's too warm. But there will be. But we will clean this up, when it's getting too warm to even have a fire at night. We'll clean it up good. The top is not cast iron, so it's easy to clean. And Danny cleans it, and then he'll put some kind of something on it to keep it from rusting. But I always, during the spring and summer, when we're not building a fire, I'll put something like this, my table runner, on it, and maybe a pretty flower or plant or something on it. And over here in the corner, this is the old world look of how they would store their bowls, some of their copper pots and pans. It's like a corner pot rack, bowl rack. What I've got on it is just some old things that I have picked up through the years. This is a double boiler, and on the bottom is a clay pie plate. These, I think, I got these for nothing, y'all, and I think I give $20-something for both of them. I think these were used commercially. They're very old. The Swan's bundt cake pans. They look like they were used commercially. So I enjoyed finding these two. So I like to display them. Right here is an ode. It's in the shape of a heart. And then on top is my copper kettle. So that's kind of a primitive old world look, how they would store things. Because they didn't have like cupboards and stuff like that. And they used their mixing bowls and their pots and pans a lot. Now, this is an old antique chair from the 1800s. I found this at an antique store years ago. Back in the day, if you'll notice, there was always some kind of a little rocking chair that sit by either the wood cook stove or the fireplace. And, of course, the homemaker would sit there while watching her supper cook. She was either knitting or sewing or doing something and staying warm and just watching over probably what she was cooking. So there was always a rocking chair beside the cooking stove, whether it be wood or an old propane stove or anything. And I've told Danny, I said, women must have been really short in the 1800s because all the chairs and rocking chairs were shorter than in the 1900s. So this is just a little tour of part of my cabin. And it's just a part of who I am. a collector of old things, and a lot of them are up there on that shelf that you can't see very good, but I have some things I need to show y'all. We need to get back to the bread dough. We're going to punch it down. It's been an hour. It looks beautiful. So we're going to punch it down. We're just going to pull it together. This dough is it's such a beautiful dough. It's so easy. And it just always comes out feeling so nice. It's not too dense, or it's just always a good dough. We're not going to knead this a lot. I'm just going to kind of pull the edges together in the middle. Just pull it all together and bring it into you can roll it a little bit if you want to. You just want to make it into a round. I think people overthink their bread making. It's not that hard. You be good. You pat your dough and you tell it to be good. To make good bread. I just floured it just a little bit. What I'm doing is, if there's any bubbles, I'm just kind of poking them down, get rid of them bubbles. I'm just flattening it out just a little bit. What I'm going to do is, here at the end, I'm going to cut just down just a little bit right there in the middle. Then I'm going to come down and I'm just going to cut 2 pieces out of the very end. And these 2 pieces that I cut are going to become my 2 hamburger buns. Because that's what I know I need for this week. I need just a loaf of bread and a couple of hamburger buns. And this is such a good recipe for cooking for 2. Because it doesn't make a huge loaf, but it makes just enough. And then you can get 2 buns. You can even get 2 hot dog buns. You could get 2 hamburger buns, 2 hot dog buns, and even a smaller loaf of bread out of this one recipe. So it is a very good recipe for 1 or 2 people, or 4. With it having 4 cups of flour in it, it makes a good amount of what you need for the week. So I'm just going to continue to stretch it. Get rid of some of the bubbles. I'm not going to work with it very much. Just stretch it into a rectangle. Pull it just a little bit. Just straighten it out, square it out a little bit. And then we're just going to roll it up really tight and make a loaf and put it in our prepared loaf pan. Okay, I'm going to put it in my prepared loaf pan, which is a 5 by 9. I believe that's the size of this loaf pan. It's been sprayed. It's a non-stick, but I still always spray them a little bit. And I like to flatten it down just a little bit, because I'm making it more or less into, for, sandwich bread. So what you do is you just cup your hand and just kind of roll and roll and roll till you get it. You can feel it when it's just make your round ball. And then flatten it to make your burger bun. Because what'll happen, this is going to go ahead and rise. It's going to keep rising. So it's going to make just the perfect hamburger bun. So just kind of pat it out and get the bubbles out. And I'm placing it in a non-stick baking pan back here. And if you were making hot dog buns, you just kind of roll it into a longer roll, probably about 4 to 5 inches long. So there's our buns. There's our hamburger buns for the week. and our sandwich bread. So I've got that ready, and it can be on its second proof while I'm doing other things around the house. Hamburger bun, bread. Now we're just going to cover these up. I'm just going to take some plastic wrap, cover them up, and I'm going to stick them in my oven with the light on. And it'll stay just warm enough for them to proof about 30 minutes. Okay, it's been another 30 minutes and our buns and our bread are ready. Now, what I'm going to top this with is what we call a little bit of sweet milk, which is better known as whole milk. What this does is it just gives the top of your bread a more softer crust. You know, usually you'd put a little bit of butter or something like that on top, and that gives it a shiny, more crispier crust for your bread. But because I want this to be a soft bread for my hamburger buns and for my sandwich bread, I want it just like the bread you buy from the store. Your sandwich bread, if you'll notice, the crust is not hard, it's real soft. So that's where sweet milk comes in. But if you would rather use butter, that's fine. Your texture, your crust will be different, but you use and make your crust the way that you like it. This is the way that I like it because I like a softer bread crust. This is so handy to have just this one basic recipe for those of us that don't need a big bread recipe, and that if we want to have a couple hamburgers here tomorrow, there they are, there's my buns. Me and Mr. Brown don't need a whole big pack, even an 8-pack of buns. Now, used to, I would do it and put the rest in the freezer. I'm going to tell you what would happen. It'd be a long time before we'd have another burger. And even though I wrapped it good, they still just weren't the same. They'd end up freezer burnt. To me, this is better. Of course, homemade is better anyways. But I put just a little bit of just regular white sesame seeds. That's just an option for you on top of my hamburger buns. So I'm going to put this in a 350 oven. Reason I love my homemade bread cooked in my old cook stove, and even my wood cook stove. Not that the convection oven doesn't do a decent job. I just like my bread cooked over here. So anyways, the buns won't take as long to cook, so I'm just going to stick them in the convection oven and just let them cook, and put the timer on. I'll probably put the timer on for about 20 minutes on them too. So let's get these in the oven, and we'll come back and we'll taste our bread. It's not a pretty day out today. It's warm, but it's so cloudy. But I'll take the warm. I'm still going to hang out my clothes today. They'll get dry. I love to hang towels and sheets out, especially when you put them on your bed. They just smell so fresh and clean. My grandmother, she had a big, long place to hang her clothesline right off the back porch. And off the back porch, or on the back porch, it was where her washer was. But she hung her clothes out every day. She washed every day. And I can remember that old back porch. When I was just a little bitty thing, they didn't have a bathroom. They had an outhouse before Grandpa built an indoor bathroom. And she had an old tub back there on that back porch with the washer, and that's where we would take our baths at. She had an old wood cook stove in the kitchen that was just off of the old back porch, and she could heat her water. It had a water reservoir on it, and she did have running water in the kitchen, of course. It's funny, all those good memories and how we would bring them all back again. Those were good days. We did, Hank. I want to bring y'all along with me on the start and the journey of my new cottage garden. I'm so excited about this. I do watch a lot of garden, well, most of the time listen. I've always got, if I'm in the house doing something, I'm always got maybe the TV or my computer on listening to different channels of gardening. Cottage garden. I just love them. But the first thing I've got to do is get it ready. Mr. Brown is at his mama's house helping with her today. And you can see what we did get started already. So I'm going to finish with putting the ground barrier down. And it's not an easy task, but I am going to do it. I'm dedicated. I'm going to do it. It may not be perfect, but it will work. I ordered my ground barrier from Amazon. I will put the link in my store, my shop. And you have to buy the anchors to anchor it down. The steel anchors are separate. And let me tell you something. Up here on this hill, if you can drive any kind of steel post or any kind of small anchor down in this ground, you are doing good. It's a job by itself. There's so much rock and stone in our ground. It's unreal. And the only good thing of it is when we drill a well, you don't have to case your well as much because there's so much lime rock. But anyways, you just beat and beat and beat till you get that stake in there. So I am going to get as much of this done, and Danny will be home, and he'll help me, of course. But the only way you can do this is get down your hands and knees and get it done. This is located right in front of the main garden, the side of it, and in front of my greenhouse. And I will bring y'all along as I work on it and as it grows and it gets beautiful and all the different things that I do to it. Well, that's a little bit of what's been going on around here for the last 3 or 4 days. What's going on at your place? You know, we started out the week with a really pretty warm day. And then as the days just kept coming on, we got a little bit of rain, not much, but it just stayed cloudy and got cooler. But that's okay because it didn't stop us. I wanted to get the ground barrier down and get the gravel on top of it. I wanted to get all that done because now I can go on. And I'm not going to be buying any new beds, raised beds, because I think I've got 7 of them in the back garden. My back garden, as y'all know, is what I always called my kitchen garden, and it was in back of the house. I decided to bring my raised beds up here by the bigger garden where we grow our potatoes and our okra, and we'll be starting to grow our cabbage out here, our peas, our green beans, stuff like that. Stuff that you really don't need to, that we don't grow in raised beds. And we're putting my cottage garden right beside that. So all you have to do is just go through the cottage garden, go through the gate, and then go into the main big garden. I will be putting some weed barrier down in the big garden too. And this is why I'm telling y'all, it's the garden, the aspect of the garden and taking care of the vegetables and plants is not our issue right now. Danny and I both have back problems, and now he's having rotator cuff problems. So as you get older and you've worked all your life and you've done these things, there's just a time where your body's just kind of shutting down and not letting you do as much as you used to. But Danny knows that as long as I can walk and get around, I will always have some kind of a garden. It may be just nothing but raised bed gardens or just in pots. It don't matter. I will always have some kind of garden. But I will be putting weed barrier down in the main garden, mainly down the middle, and we're probably not going to put any kind of chat or anything down on top of it, but I will make sure that it is anchored down good. And I might put 1 or 2 raised beds in the middle, but I'm thinking that my big mineral buckets that I've always grown some of the biggest cabbage heads in, I'm just going to line them up through there and grow my cabbage heads in my mineral buckets again. They're the really big buckets. We get them from the farmers. They're cleaned out good. They just do a wonderful job, and so many people in my area use the big mineral buckets to grow in. So I think that might be one of the things I do in the main big garden. I got my green peas, my sweet peas. I got them going here in the greenhouse. I'm hoping that they'll go ahead and sprout and go ahead and grow. I'm fixing to let's see, what have I planted so far? I've got my broccoli seeds, my cauliflower seeds, parsnips, hang on, my mind's going blank, carrots. Did I say cauliflower? Let's see, what else? Beets. Oh, I done forgot y'all. Lettuce. Anyways, I got quite a bit that I've got planted. I'm going to plant some more, but I'm putting them inside the sunroom under, some of them is going to be under a grow lamp for right now because we're fixing to get down cold at night again, and I don't have any heat here. If it just gets down in the upper 40s, it don't bother me. But when it gets down close to 30 and down, down around freezing, your seeds aren't going to sprout. They ain't going to do no good. One of these days I'm going to have permanent heat here in the greenhouse, and I won't have to worry about it. But that's okay because I've always been able to start my seeds inside the house, and they've always done good. But as time goes on, and like my summer crops, of course, it's warm enough by then that I can start my seeds here in the greenhouse, because it doesn't get that cold at night by then. But right now it's just really cold. I'm wanting to get my plants up and get them in my raised beds. So now that I've got my cottage garden, the weed barrier down, the chat on top. I'm not sure. I know somebody's probably going to ask what gauge of chat that is, and I'll ask Danny. So if y'all want to know, just ask me in the comments, and I'll surely by then know. I used to know the gauge of the chat, but I don't. It's what we put on our driveway, put it that way. I've just always, my back garden became where it was just a little bit of everything. So my back garden now will be my fruit trees, from apple to pear, figs, cherries, plums. It's also going to be where all my raspberries and blackberries and blueberries and strawberries. I'm going to do all that back there in the back. They seem to do really good back there. So that's going to be the main thing behind the house, will be an orchard, and that's where my fruit and stuff like that will be. My cottage garden, I absolutely love the thought, and I watch so many. I mean, it seems like that's all I even watch anymore, especially getting this time of year, is the cottage gardens over in the UK. You've got so many different channels and so many beautiful cottage gardens, and so many of them different places, and I just love it. So it has encouraged me, and I just love the fact of it. And because I knew that I already had a load of chat sitting around, and my mind's always going, y'all. Now, I did have to buy the weed barrier, and I had to invest in that, and I wanted to get a good one too, and I'll try to put a link to that in when you go to my shop. I've started putting the products that I use. When you're watching the very beginning of my video, when you're watching, you see this icon comes up that says shop. Click on that, and that's where the link will be. I'll also put the link down below in my description box. But I'm so excited because my love for gardening started as a young child, and my grandparents always had a huge garden on top of the hill, and at the bottom of the hill is where Grandpa grew acres of peas and field peas, black-eyed peas, purple hull peas. And then at the top of the hill was a big garden that grew Grandma's green beans and potatoes and okra and stuff like that. I don't remember Grandma ever growing winter crops like broccoli and stuff like that. Now, she did grow some cabbage. But I also, my love for flowers and cut flowers, and I love to mingle my flowers and my vegetables together. I think they help each other. Not only is it beautiful, but I think they just thrive off each other too. So I do research to see what flowers and herbs and vegetables that do good together. I grew up with gardens that fed the family. That's what we ate, and it was just your regular straight row garden. And even though Danny and I do that too, I believe that you can put a garden in and make it so beautiful that you want to spend every day out in your garden among the flowers and the vegetables and the herbs, and you can make it just a beautiful place that not only that it feeds your body physically, but it also feeds your mind mentally. I know that during the spring, during the summer and fall, I feel good. And as winter comes on, and Danny can tell you, I might as well just hibernate like a bear, because I don't do good in the wintertime. Because I'm not able to get out in the sun and get out there. Now, I can get out here in the greenhouse a little bit. And I can tell you them 2 days at the beginning of this week that were so beautiful and just warmed up that I could be in a short sleeve shirt. I felt so good. I did. So there's such a difference. But I want to bring y'all along on this journey of me making my new cottage garden and the little bits and pieces that I'll pick up for it to decorate it with. And as I get my beds in here, because what I've got to do is I've got to take the old dirt out of the beds before I move them. So that's going to be a job by itself. I will have to bring in new compost. I don't have enough compost of my own right now to be doing all this. So I will have to bring in new compost and start over again. But that's okay. But I think this cottage garden is going to be beautiful. It is going to be easier for me to take care of because I won't have a bunch of weeding to do. And that's what kills me anymore. I had back surgery in my middle 30s, I believe. It was an emergency back surgery. He hurt his back on the towboats. So he has always had a lot of bad injuries in his back. So that being said, it's hard for us to do like we used to do. So now that we're older and in our 60s, we're having to accommodate ourselves and figure out ways that will help us do things easier. And even though this was back-breaking trying to get this done, y'all, because, we put the barrier down and I had to get on my hands and knees, and so did Danny, to put it down and get it cut and get it, the way it's supposed to do, and then anchor it down with the little anchors. And then once you get the gravel on there, you got to spread it out, some of it by hand. Now, once we done that, he could bring his tractor in and spread it out better. And last night I could barely walk, but once we get all that done, it's done now. Nanny's putting the tractor up right now, and all that is done. So now the journey is to bring in my raised beds, and then of course we'll have to bring all the new compost and soil and all that in. But then all the fun stuff begins, and that is planting all my beautiful flowers and my vegetables and decorating my cottage garden. And I'm just really looking forward to it. And it's going to be easier on me, not having to worry about all the weeding and upkeep of, it does get to be a job. And with everything being right here together, I'm not, either over here or having to walk up the hill back behind, because usually the fruit trees and stuff like that, you don't have to tend to them as much during the week as you do your vegetables and all that stuff. So it's time, every time I do something new, I'm going to bring y'all along, even if I had to stick it in with another video, just so y'all can stay with me on the journey of my new cottage garden. And I hope this encourages you. And here comes Hank. I hope he doesn't knock over my camera. Hank, don't knock the camera over, bub. But anyways, I'm going to let y'all go. And I've enjoyed being with y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed seeing the beginning of something new this year. Miss Lori, she's always doing something new. The bread recipe is one of the easiest bread recipes you'll ever make. And it's in my old cookbook, and it will be in my new cookbook. So God bless everybody. Me and Hank and Paul see y'all in a few days. Y'all be good and take it easy. What have you been doing, Hank? What have you been into, Hank? Hank is doing better. He got, he done really good at the vet. There's Mr. Brown. He's about wore out like I am. You want to come in here and tell him what the vet said about Hank? He got...
His weight is good.
His weight is good.
He got rabies shot.
He got a rabies shot.
Vaccination.
Vaccination, yes.
No parasites.
No parasites.
And he's been put on a heartworm program.
No heartworms, no parasites. And yeah, we've got him on a good program for
Worming and heartworm.
Worming, heartworming, fleas, ticks, and all that stuff. His weight is good, y'all. I guess we just worried too much. Of course, he come to a new place, and he had to really settle in with us. But he done really good at the vet, y'all, too. So, Hank's good. Thank y'all for worrying about Hank. And I guess we just worried too much because we thought he'd quit eating. But what it was is he's eating plenty, really. His weight's good, and so he's done fine. We was just a little bit worried. We wanted to make sure that he didn't have heartworms or parasites, so that's all good. And he's just... They looked at his teeth and told Danny that he was just a little over a year old, didn't they?
Year to a year and a half. Year and 3 or 4 months. Yeah.
Year and 3 or 4 months. We wasn't for sure how old he was. So anyways... He's doing good, y'all. So thank y'all for thinking about him. Okay, we'll see y'all in a few days. Y'all have a beautiful weekend.